All right. This is a movie I wanted to talk about for a long time, but I never owned it. We have Insidious. Got the 4-pack here. Finally got the first two. Well, I had the second one on my Vudu, so I gotta watch that whenever. But the first one is the only one I didn't really have to watch. So, Insidious is one of the movies that's gonna be in my 31 on 31. So I gotta give it a review. Might as well do all four. So what you're gonna get. This is Saturday. This is coming out Saturday, the 2nd of October. You're gonna get review Insidious right now, out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then at noon you're gonna get Insidious Chapter 2. Sunday you will get Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. All right. So let's talk about when this came out. I remember that I had no intention of seeing this movie because you remember a movie called Haunting in Connecticut? How they said, it's not the house that's haunted, it's your son. So, when this came out, they used that tagline in the trailer. It's not the house that's haunted, it's your son. And I'm like, so they're ripping off A Haunting in Connecticut? What? So every time it would come up, for some reason, I'd say, you mean Haunting in Connecticut Part 2? Which they would do. But this is basically, I thought, ripping it off. I didn't know who James Wan was. I realized that he was the same guy who directed Saw. I was like, and then Dead Silence, of course. I went, maybe I should watch these. So I did, and I was completely wrong. I remember being like, why did I know they used that same line, but other than that, the two movies I've seen, The Haunting in Connecticut, it's not a very good movie. This is much better. The story is that the Lambert family are moving into a new house, and their oldest son, Dalton, I think he's the oldest. Well, one of their sons, Dalton, he falls from a ladder because the door opens. In a later entry, I believe we find out why the door opened. But it's shortly after this that he conks out and he doesn't wake up. He's out, and they're trying to figure out why he won't wake up. And then spooky spirits start to show up at the house, so they move, and the spirits are still there. So they call an old friend of the dad, Josh's mom. Josh and Renee, they're the parents. They call Josh's mom, and they tell, and Josh's mom calls an old friend of hers named Elise. And she, goes through, she has her two little buddies, Tucker and Specs, come through, one of them played by screenwriter Lee Winnell, a frequent collaborator of James Wan. And, yeah, they basically figure out that Dalton can astral project, and when he was out of his body, one of the evil spirits, there's a bunch of evil spirits that want to come back into this world, and they're going to use Dalton's body to do it. And so that's why he's not waking up, because he's still in what Elise calls the further. And also she reveals that Josh used to do the same thing when he was little, but they wiped his memory of it, I guess. Which I always found that to be strange. Like, even if his memory was wiped, wouldn't he still be able to do it? I don't know. But so Josh is the only one that can save his son. So first and foremost, before I continue with the plot here, the music in this, like I talked about in Suspiria, which technically hasn't come out yet, but in my review for Suspiria, I talked about the music in that, right? This is not as jarring. Technically, you haven't seen that review. I already recorded it before this, but anyways, the music in this by Joseph Bishara, I think is the guy who did the music. That's really small writing. That's the wrong one. It's music by Joseph Bishara. He also plays the lipstick demon, the red-faced lipstick demon, I think it's called. And it's, the demons in this are pretty freaky. Not as freaky as the ghost humans. There are people sitting on couches going, and they have to sit there, and they have just, that is creepy. That's very creepy. He has a good atmosphere. It's James Wan, so you're not going to go wrong with this. He has a good atmosphere, good creepiness to it. There's some legitimate jump scares, not a cat or a broom or anything, but legitimate jump scares that even now made me jump. The one jump scare that always makes me jump is when they're trying to tell Josh what's going on, and, he doesn't really believe, when Josh's mom talks about how she had a dream, and afterwards the lipstick demon pops from behind Josh. It's the thumbnail for this video. That one gets me all the time. It goes, duh! It's effective. The music is effective. There's even one time, I remember when I was watching this back, I think I rented it, is what it was. I was watching it, it was like the second watch. I had a copy of this at some point, I think. Had to have. I don't know how. But I had this stupid ass chair that is just like, I don't know. I got it from an old friend of mine. We're not friends anymore. It was a weird chair, and it didn't have any arms or anything, so I just sat there, and I was like, but when the jump scare happened, I went, Jesus. There wasn't a very comfortable chair either, although I did fall asleep a couple times in it, but it wasn't really the best. I got rid of it. It was stupid, but but yeah, so they, Elise is going to talk to Dalton using this mask thing, to talk to Dalton and to figure out what's going on. And they find that Josh is the only one that can get him, which so this is a little bit of a logic issue when you put the sequels into it. Even this film, when they reveal that Josh used to be able to do it, they don't tell Josh till after they've talked to Dalton. This whole scene with Dalton and it and everything, was it necessary? Like, I know she put the mask thing on. She did that to try to figure out if he's in the further, but there's stuff on the wall. That's another thing. Like, there's stuff on the wall. They have Josh is the skeptic. Patrick Wilson's character is the skeptic. And it's weird seeing him be the skeptic after watching the Conjuring movies and saying that he's the big believer and all this stuff. But he figures out from all the stuff on Dalton's wall that what Elise was saying was the truth. But, like, he doesn't believe it until he's like, oh, I asked for a sign and a picture falls down. And then he picks it up and he looks at all the other pictures, and that's how he realizes that Elise was telling the truth. But she only says about, like, Dalton, I think at this point, they can astral project. I don't think she says about Josh yet. But it's after the whole scene, and, like, first of all, Elise saw these pictures. She knows what's going on, right? So when he didn't believe her, why didn't he say, hey, your son has a bunch of pictures on his wall that he drew. Why don't you look at those? No. Because we gotta have this scene where, yeah, I don't know, it's really weird. And then we gotta have this other scene with the mask. I think these scenes are basically to kind of, stuff the film so there's not extra time. But there's even a scene that connects to the second one, which I won't spoil. But there's a scene where they're in the house, or I think it's the old house, one of the houses, and the front door bursts open and the alarm goes off, and they shut it. But, like, And there's something about the baby that connects to the second one, which I always thought was a pretty cool connection. When we get the second one, I'll talk about it. But so Josh goes in. They explain that when he was a kid, he could do the same thing Dalton could, and he kept seeing the black bride or whatever spirit, which I don't know. I don't like what is revealed in the second film about this, but again, we'll get to that when we come to it. But so Josh goes in and he's told not to make a big deal out of anything. First thing he does, Dalton, have you seen my son? Where's my son? Have you seen my son? You were told not to let people know you were there. And you're yelling at everyone about, where's my son? Where's my son? He does eventually find Dalton. He's chained up. How can you chain an astral form? I don't know how that works. You're a spirit. You're not corporeal. But, okay. And then Lipstick Face finds them. But they're able, thanks to Renee calling for them, they're able to get out. Well, at least Dalton is. Then we see, and this scene for me, it makes me scratch my head. So, as they're getting ready to leave, Dalton gets out, but Josh is still there, and he's staring face to face with the bride. And he just keeps yelling, get the hell away from me. Get the hell away from me. Get away from me. Get the hell away from me. And I'm like, fucking walk away. Why does he just stand there and yell at it? Walk away. That's all you have to do. He's not in your way. The door is that way. Or that way, as you'll see it. Just walk away. And then, like, Josh finally wakes up, or so we think. And we have this, there's a thing where he doesn't like his picture taken. I don't think it's used as well as it could have been. Like, they only mention it. It's never like, no, don't take my picture. Just like, there's one scene in which she's like, I can't believe you got him to take a picture. And then later she's like, oh, there's that spirit. But in the back of your mind, you were always afraid to have your picture taken. You wouldn't let you have your picture taken anymore. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't very well established, though. One scene of, can't believe you got him to take a picture. That doesn't really do anything, but at least senses something. She takes a picture. Josh freaks out, chokes her to death, and then Renee comes running in, and Josh is gone. Josh is gone. She's like, Josh, where are you? Josh, where are you? She finds the camera. She sees the picture. We get a flashback. And, yeah, it's the bride inside Josh's body. So, that's a spirit photography, I guess. But, and then you hear, I'm right here, which most of us assumed meant it's Josh's spirit. He can't hear her, or she can't hear him. But the second one, I think, is just actually Josh. But, yeah. But there is one thing. So let's say you've never seen any of the Insidious movies, right? But you know that at least, you know, Lynn Shay's character is the main character is present in all 4 films. And she's the main character of 3 and 4. And you don't know those are prequels. But you go in knowing, okay, this at least she's the character we follow through these movies. And she's killed off at the end of the first one. You go, wait, what the hell? How? Huh? You know? Then you have to watch the other ones to find out. But it's weird. And in hindsight, I don't know how I think maybe it was backwards thinking, whatever you would call it, where they're like, oh, she's going to be the star, even though, like, they set up something at the end of 2, and I'll discuss that in my review for 2, but they had a pretty cool way to continue, and they still could, even though they're not going that direction. I'll kind of discuss that in my review for the 4th one, but, yeah, it's just weird when you look back, and they killed off the main character in the first film, but she returns for all three of the other films. It's just really weird, you know? But the acting in this from the actors is fantastic. You get some good comedy from Tucker and Specs. The kids are okay. I will say that the baby whining every 5 minutes at the beginning of this was kind of annoying. Like, I understand you're trying to present that there's a dangerous thing, but there was a point where I'm sitting there going, can you just shut the baby up? Like, it was, I know a baby, it's going to cry, but I don't know. Thankfully, the baby just sort of disappeared from the film after the halfway point. I guess. I don't know, but that baby kept crying, and I love babies. Don't get me wrong. I got a niece. I love my niece. I love babies. I got a niece, whatever. I love my niece. So, yeah, babies are cool, but having them whine, cry so much within the first half of the film, I think they realize that, which is why she's not. I think it's a she is not in the rest of the film that much, but you know. Overall, Insidious is a pretty good film. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic film. It's good scares. It's James Wan. You're never going to go wrong with it. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Insidious? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.